In this video, what I'm going to be looking at are 10 more features or just gameplay elements in Fallout 76 that are either just not properly introduced, I see a lot of players maybe missing or not taking advantage of these, or the game just simply never tells you about them. Unless you just figured it out on your own, you wouldn't know it's here. There's another episode of these where a few of them are actually going to be a result of glitches or bugs in the game, so there are certain features that are technically implemented but don't actually work because there's a bug that makes it so it just outright doesn't work. So depending on when you watch this video, it may have been patched, but considering we haven't even heard of the next patch yet, I'd say you're safe for at least the next couple of weeks. The first of which is going to be a level 3 perk cards glitch. This is going to be a relatively minor bug, but it can be a massive one. So more or less, when you combine perk cards, like when you're leveling up and actually have two and you turn them into one level 2 card, there's a glitch right now where a lot of times on your server that's not going to be saved. So it will visually appear in your perk card deck, but unfortunately the effect isn't actually there because technically server side it's not recognizing that it was applied. A lot of times what you're going to have to do here is actually disconnect from your server and reconnect. People reported having this with level 3 perk cards mostly, but also occasionally with level 2 perk cards. So just keep this one in mind. If you are having this issue, all you have to do is disconnect from your server and reconnect. Another one that's actually really important to keep in mind is diseases in this game have a timer. So there's times where you'll contract a disease from an enemy or just some bad food or something. And like most of us, we'll immediately go to those antibiotics or the disease cure in our inventory. Well, it's not always the most lucrative approach because some of these diseases will only be 15 minutes long, and if it's already been a few minutes, it might just be easier to deal with it for a few minutes than actually waste one of those fairly valuable antibiotics or disease cures. Now there are other diseases that will last up to and apparently over 1 hour, so those obviously you do want to tackle, but I would say it's just good to get into the habit of actually checking how much longer you have left on that current disease. So the bounty system in this game is very glitchy in and of itself. Apparently a lot of these have been resolved, but one feature of the bounty system that some people don't seem to know about is if you actually attack another player's workshop, even just a couple of stray bullets, you will become wanted yourself. Now honestly, at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal, but typically in this scenario, you'll have a few people suddenly come after you and want to take you down. Bounty hunting is a very real thing in this game, and the reason I wanted to mention this one is I've done it several times on accident, not even realizing it, especially when you're using something that's explosive. But otherwise, another useful feature in the game, the Pip-Boy tab for your junk actually has a component mode view. Basically, the components are what these things break down to, so you can see what they actually are in their raw pieces. This gives you a better idea of what you need as far as crafting goes, or just to sort your inventory a bit better. I honestly had no idea this was a feature up until doing the research for this video, and I can think of quite a number of scenarios where it would have been useful. So I know not everyone is actually taking full advantage of the camp building system, this partially because, again, there are a ton of bugs and glitches in this. Actually, just as I sat down to film this video, I discovered that all of my camp items have been deleted, so now I have to spend those resources to create them again. But either way, the point I'm making is camp items have variety in them. So there might be different variants of an individual item. This is especially useful to know when placing down some of the walls because it's how you get like doorways and windows. You can cycle through these with the left and right arrow keys on PC. I'm not sure what it is on consoles, probably the D-pad or something along those lines, but either way, it definitely does open things up a bit more. Let's say you found a plan for something specific, like a specific bed type. The only way to actually access that may be through cycling through some of these variants. But speaking of that, not all things in your camp are created equal. I found this one is especially useful when looking at the workshop mode where you're spending free resources. And basically, defensive items such as turrets and things along those lines actually cost more of your building budget than do just typical structure items. This is of course for natural balance reasons, so you don't have way too strong of a defense. Well, let's say you're at your budget limit and trying to place a few things down, it's almost always going to be more lucrative to delete a turret over something like a wall or some other structural item. Something I had no idea about until I made that trying to make friends in Fallout 76 video from just a few days ago is you can actually expand your emote wheel to get access to additional emotes. By default, I think there's only 1 or 2 included in this, that being a few varieties in the teaming up one. But yeah, basically you can expand this and see some of the other ones, especially if you buy the emotes through the atomic shop. This is where they're going to show up. After picking one, it will be assigned then to the default emote wheel, but if you've seen people using like that camera emote and trying to figure out how they got access to it, this is the way. Everyone has it by default, so it's not like something you have to buy or unlock, but you actually have to know how to get to it in order to access it. Then we do have the lucrativeness of soups. So there's a few things about soups that are important to keep in mind. Liquid items in this game actually heal faster than traditional meat items, but even beyond that, just overall, soups tend to have a longer condition bar, meaning they will actually take longer to spoil in your inventory. If you're like me, you probably had a lot of food items spoil on you, and it can be fairly frustrating at times, but also soups satisfy both your hunger and your thirst, so if you just use them passively as a healing item, it typically is pretty efficient. Definitely a lot more efficient than just using purified water and a traditional meat. But let's say you really like that and you're like, oh yeah, now I'm gonna go start using soups more often. Well, I have another tip to go along with it. Actually, spoiled food in this game has a usage. I never knew that. If you're like me, you probably always just saw the spoiled meat and dropped it to save carry weight. But no, in reality, if you go to a chemistry station, you can convert this into fertilizer. That may have been obvious to other people, but I again had no idea before this video. Fertilizer is subsequently used while planting various things at your settlement or camp. And it is those very things that allow you to create soups. If you're actually trying to get all of these things initially, there's a really good spot right outside of the Morgantown airport that just has 4 different vegetables there. There's quite an abundance, and again, if you're server hopping or just letting time pass, you could typically go back and really stock up on these things. The rest of the items of soup are really easy to find, and again, it's one of the most powerful healing and just satisfying of your needs items in the game. Alright, so in fairness, this one's not really a feature the game doesn't tell you about, but it's something immensely useful that I think more people should be taking advantage of, because I have been to great success. Sometimes, if you're on one side of the map, getting to the other side can be very expensive cap-wise. Of course, you can just travel to Vault 76 and go that route, but alternatively, I just normally will invite someone to my team that's in the general area of where I want to fast travel. I would say 7 times out of 10, that person actually accepts the invite, I fast travel to them, and then I'll leave the team or do whatever I have to do. Most people probably accept this invite just out of curiosity to see what would happen. A few times I ended up actually teaming up with that person over the long term, but it's a very useful tool that I would definitely give a shot, especially if you're low on caps or consistently spending caps to fast travel around for videos like I am. And who knows, maybe you'll make a friend in the process anyway. If you guys haven't seen, Red Dead Online is coming out tomorrow in the beta version. I will have access to that. I think I'm going to try and do a live stream of it at some point tomorrow. I haven't played a ton of Red Dead Redemption 2, and I think it would be fun to actually diversify the content on this channel a bit, especially considering how much hate and how much of a dumpster fire Fallout 76 is on release. I think I did a poll a little while back, and I know quite a few of you guys did say you want to see more content from other games. In the coming weeks, I do plan on doing a few more Fallout 4 videos, so come December I would expect quite a few of those, but otherwise the cooking video and just general Fallout 76 content is definitely going to be plentiful in the next week or so. Otherwise though, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. As always, again, I thank you all for watching, hopefully you enjoyed, but with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.